Sector's Edge is a first-person shooter. It's all about building and destruction, in a good way. You're not going to shoot someone here and have them explode into a skyscraper. It's a more methodical game, where you can make your own cover or dig under someone else's. It's a free-to-play game with a twist. Now let's get into it. First, let's talk about the building, since that's what they're really bringing to the genre. The building is fast-paced, with several customizable loadouts that allow you to instantly build whatever you need for the situation. Building is certainly one of the coolest mechanics of the game, and they made it very satisfying, but it can also be overbearing. With building being as good and fast as it is, destruction can't seem to keep up. The only game mode available when I was trying out the game was King of the Hill variant, where each team pushed back and forth over a very long match time, maybe 30 minutes? This led to the center of the map becoming a wasteland of player-created blocks. Since both teams fought in the same area again and again and again and again, it slowly filled with all their walls and stairs until not one remnant of the original map design remained. This is a cool experience initially, but that faded quickly. It ends up becoming a chore to traverse the area, as it's an amalgamation of player creations with no rhyme or reason. It almost feels like I want more static blocks placed by the devs that are either really hard to break or impossible to break to support the longer game mode, or maybe to have the obliterator actually obliterate, so a player can clear out large sections of the map, since it's useless as a gun anyways. That said, I also feel that could be a mistake and a cop-out. It really is just a symptom of game mode that the core mechanics don't support. What the game really needs is a game mode that supports attacker and defender gameplay, so each team actually cares about taking down each other's creations. I would love to see something similar to Search and Destroy or a CS style game mode. That said, I also think the game's mechanics would support a Battlefield Rush mode very well. The important part is that either the map is reset in short intervals to clean up the clutter, so you can support the gunplay, or that the map always progresses forwards over time, so both teams naturally move past old battle zones and into new areas that are ready to be built up or cut down. I think it's also worth briefly talking about the game's movement. Everything feels very arcadey, which is a nice feeling for this type of game. The movement is fast and fluid, and there are plenty of options to sneak around and become a tunnel rat. There doesn't seem to be any real penalty for constantly moving, so the entire experience is very fast, which is a nice change of pace. The guns in general are accurate while moving, so running and gunning is a way of life. I love that they went with a mix of projectiles and raycats for their weapons. It leads to a really nice trade-off that opens up a lot of play space. That said, most of the weapons feel like they have massive damage drop-offs relative to the size of the map and are only viable at medium range. But I feel like that's a symptom of only playing on the trained map. If anything, the game should probably try to encourage their ideal engagement ranges with level design. Otherwise, I feel like the guns felt very good in general, and they are more or less balanced relative to each other. The recoil feels like a very simple spread and bloom, but I don't think that's a bad thing here, considering the complexity of everything else in the game. The guns are not only balanced next to each other, but also with a point buy system. Players build their own loadouts of whatever guns and abilities they desire within the point limit. This is a decent system for transient drop-in gameplay, but I feel like it will become a significant limiting factor for any other modes. As is, there is very little room for game progression within the actual gameplay. I feel like the game direction is pushing more towards wanting to become a competitive experience, so I would love to see some sort of actual economy introduced. The other large limiter is not being able to pick up opponents' weapons, which means there is never any sort of power progression within a match, and no risk of loss. All in all, the devs are really trying to push the competitive integrity of the game, and the biggest risk to competitive integrity these days is money. So, how do they make money? Sector's Edge is trying to go the free-to-play cosmetics route, which I'm very happy about. They are unwilling to sacrifice the integrity of the game in order to cash out, which bodes well for the future of their competitive modes. Skins and UI are still very sparse, but once they are able to capture a player base, I have no doubt that they will be able to ramp up monetization to support themselves. I just really hope they can make it there. Sector's Edge is a mangled love child born from Minecraft and Counter-Strike in the most interesting way possible. It's very intricate, and it's absolutely dripping with potential, the most potential that I've seen in a long time. It could very well become one of the biggest shooters on the block, or it could never manage to break its way out of obscurity. There are certainly some choices that I disagree with, and a lack of long-term content. But if they can make it past the early stages of development, there's a real chance that they can make something truly masterful. I would recommend anyone that is a fan of shooters to check it out, even just to see what they've done. This entire game is raw potential, and that excites me. Thanks for watching. If you like the content, come join me live Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6:30 p.m. PST, or on Saturdays at 1 p.m. for variety games like this one. Have a good night. If you had 3 or 4 man squads that just, you were auto-placed into them and you could talk to them, like, hey man, let's all grab our knives and we're gonna, or our digging machines, we're gonna burrow down the left side and just come in behind their team. Like, that's so cool. Like, that's always what I wanted in like a Battlefield type game.